They appear in the moment you need them most. A kind face in overalls at a gas station just before dawn. A radiant figure beside the tracks after a near fatal accident. Wings of light shielding children during a devastating storm. Are they figments or hope? Are they real and watching? Tonight, we reveal true stories of divine intervention, miraculous survival, and encounters that defy logic. My guest, intuitive healer and author Christi Clemons Hoffman, shares incredible accounts from her new book, Real Life Angel Encounters. If you've ever wondered whether you're truly alone in your darkest hour, the answer might just have wings. That's next, right here on the Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. He won't float. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Oh, this is exciting, friends. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening on a show that we focus so much on the strange and unusual, some of the darker corners and recesses of our world, the places where demons exist and ghosts knock about in our halls, aliens are abducting us, and strange encounters with cryptid creatures and things that really do go bump in the night. But it's not all about that. There are also amazing tales of hope, miracles, and amazing manifestations. Stories that I believe and stories that I can connect with because I've had real life angel encounters many times through the years. Not always something physically there in front of me, but reaching through the veil as a song echoing at the moment I needed it most, in one of the darkest hours of my life as a teenager, a song and a voice bringing me out of the darkness. And there have been many other tales that we've spoken about on this show in the past, but I always think it's great to reinfuse us, and especially in the world that we're in today. Give us a little bit more hope, a little bit more possibility, instead of just always focused on the dark, the foreboding, the scary. Let's try to lighten it up tonight. And joining us right here on the program, my guest for the evening, Christi Clemons Hoffman. Christi, thank you so much for being here with us this evening.
Thank you for having me, Dave. That introduction was beautiful.
Thank you very much. Well, the book is Real Life Angel Encounters, and we will have a link for the book on today's program guide so you can find it very easily. And remember, folks, don't just buy the book. Rate and review the book once you've had a chance to read it, because that does go a long way to help out the authors and other guests that we have on the show so that their books are seen by a bigger, broader audience. Angels, why this topic for you to delve into, Christi? What can you tell us?
So the Real Life Angel Encounters book is based on my podcast, Real Life Angel Encounters. And that podcast was started in 2021 during the pandemic, when my angels started tapping me on the shoulder saying, you need to be telling our stories. We want you to spread the word that we're around you and that we're there for you. And I said, well, that's really wonderful, but I've already got a podcast and I'm a single mom and I've got a busy group practice that I run. And they left me alone for a little while, only to knock louder a couple of weeks later and say, honey, you really need to get this out there. People need to hear about us and need to hear hope. And so I started the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast. And it's when I first started it, it lasted one season. There were 40 episodes, and I was having a hard time keeping up with the load of having 2 full-time podcasts every week and busy client practice and being a single mom and all of that. I put it to bed for a little while, but I brought it back this January because, well, people were still finding that podcast and I was still gaining new listeners, even though there were no new episodes. And I knew that I've got something here, something that people need. And then the book was born to help promote the podcast and get more stories for the podcast. And then the podcast is supporting the book so that people can actually go back and read and savor and enjoy and underline and make notes in the margins of their favorite stories and really take a deeper dive into it.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me when I've done talks around the world and I go into the dark stuff. Everybody loves the dark stories. They love the creepy stories. They love flinching and cringing in the seats. And then usually I'll try to weave in one or two stories of positivity and angel encounters. And it's interesting because a lot of times here I've regaled them with an hour's worth of creepy tales that they came for. And many of them will come up to me at the end saying, you know, those two angel encounters really gave me a lot of hope. They let me feel like I'm not so alone, and that if this can happen for you or happen for someone you know, maybe there's still a chance that I can have an angel encounter. But I do have to laugh, Christy,
Why is
because
that?
you start off your story, and it's good to know that we are children no matter what age we are, right? I mean, here, the big man upstairs knocking on your door going, you really need to tell angel stories. And you're like, yeah, I'll get to it later, old man, right? I'm going out with my friends tonight, right? Always a little too busy to do what you're told. All right, listen, you just go ahead, and I'm going to remind you again in a week or two. And then not only am I going to remind you, you're going to do it for 40 weeks and then stop. And I'm going to remind you just how important this is, because years later, I'm going to show you people are still seeking this. So it's funny that no matter what age we are, God is still listening and we are still defying him, even when he's giving us really good advice.
I hadn't quite thought of it that way, Dave, but you're absolutely right. Who am I standing up to God? Yeah, I mean, I was going to do it anyway, but.
Christy, I do have to ask you a quick question. As I was doing that little dissertation to you, did you have something go off in the background? Like some kind of audio go off in the background?
No. Oh, there was my cat walked by.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a cat unless it hissed.
No.
I'll mark it. I'll check. It is around the 6:45, 6, yeah, somewhere in there moment. But while I was talking at the end there, it sounded like something was speaking as well. So I don't know if our listeners heard that, and I'm watching the live chat room. If you guys heard some kind of weird hissy voice or something pop in there, let me know about it in the live chat, and I'll pop it up. What did you hear? Right?
Right. I
Something's
want to
listening.
know.
Yeah.
I want to know as well. Now, the thing is, I'm here in my home in Kansas City, Missouri, and it's 105 years old. It was built in 1920. And yeah, there are voices, there are footsteps, there are, yeah. So I wouldn't doubt it at all.
Music says, I heard it. Karen says, oh, I heard it. And then
Oh,
R&B just has to rain on a parade and say, nope.
nope.
Well, we'll find out. I will check this out. And for those of you listening to the audio podcast version of this, I will try to isolate that and play it at the very end again. What was this? Karen says, I was thinking it was like an alarm clock or something buzzing. So it was definitely a hissy sound.
Oh my God.
Erin Duff claims to have heard what she believes to be a child.
Oh,
I love when weird, mysterious things happen live on the show. And this is one of the few times I can say it was not one of my psychotic cats. They're nowhere to be found around me. They're all upstairs with mom, not down here harassing me, which is unusual. But that's weird. We'll have to keep an ear out for that. Have you ever personally had an angel encounter, Christy?
Oh, I've had several. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, and there are a couple in the book. There was one where I was going through a really dark time in my life and was driving and crying. I was going down to see my therapist, and I was listening to a ton of Abraham Hicks. I'm sure you guys know about Abraham Hicks. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to a ton of them. I was listening to a CD on the way there. I remember CDs. And I just asked Abraham, I said, Abraham, if everything's going to be okay, you've got to give me a sign. You've got to let me know that I'm going to be okay. Right then, Dave, a panel van pulled in front of my car on the highway. On the back of the van, it said, Abraham, the name you know, the people you trust. Here's the kicker. No phone number, no website, no sign whatsoever of what kind of business that was. HVAC, electric, who knows? And I Googled that tagline after my appointment, and I couldn't find anything.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't
That's
that wild?
cool. Yeah, I love when you ask for signs and something comes. I've shared this story in the past. I'll be real brief with it. I was having a very dark time, probably around 1997, 1998, and was just in a very bad headspace. And I remember driving, music on as it always is in my car, but I was phased out on the road and thinking of all the horrible things that were boiling around in my head and all the horrible feelings that I had going on. And I remember specifically just looking up and I said, "Well, God, if you're there, I'm going to need some kind of sign. I really, I don't know. I don't know. I'm at an impasse and I really need a sign." The whole time there's a song playing in the background, and I stop and I phase out and I'm kind of focused on the road again, but doing that 100-yard stare. And it feels like somebody takes their hands off my ears. And all of a sudden I hear the song on the radio. And I got to be careful because I get choked up a lot of times when I share this aspect of the story. And there is Cyndi Lauper singing Time After Time. And she's
Love
at the part where here I'm asking if, give me a sign, let me know that. And all of a sudden she just starts doing the repetitive part of the song. If you're lost and you look, then you will find me time after time. And I was just like, what? And just the timing of it and literally how I don't know how else to equate it other than it felt like hands came off my ears. And suddenly my car is filled with those words and it's resounding in my head. To me, that's a sign, just like your Abraham, the name you can trust, car pulling right out in front of you, just enough to get your attention and wake you up out of the fog that you were in.
Isn't that amazing? You were in, this dark time, and this song was, I'm sure, was popular at the time. But it's like something, your angels or some sort of energy guided you to listen at that time and then took the earmuffs off so that you could really hear it. That kind of reminds me. What's that?
Let me ask one thing real quickly,
Mhm.
because I'm not a medium, but I am a radio telepath. And what I'm saying is I'm picking up on thousands of listeners right now going, when am I going to get my sign? I've asked for a sign. I haven't seen a sign. When am I going to get my sign? Does God not love me? Do the angels not love me? Does universe not love me? Does Gaia not love me? Why am I not getting my angel encounter? What's your answer to people when they come to you with a question like that?
A lot of people ask that, quite honestly. And my answer is that we're receiving signs all the time. Are we recognizing them? Are we paying attention?
Exactly.
Right? Are we writing it off? Are we chalking it up to coincidence or synchronicity? There's really no coincidences. Just open your mind, open your eyes. These things are happening around us all the time. And sometimes it's really subtle. The song was playing on the radio. You were there to hear it. But
Right.
the missing piece is that you knew that it was for you. That one
Mhm.
line was for you. And so there's a quote in my book, and I don't remember who says this, but there's a quote in my book that says, we can look at things as either everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle. And that is true of the signs that we have around us. Was it a coincidence? Probably not. It was probably some sort of nudge or push from the universe, your angels, your guides, your loved ones, whatever you want to call it. Right? I think these happen a lot.
I like that thought, right? We could look at it, everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle. And really the magic lies in those that choose to look at everything as a miracle. There's a great cartoon I cannot stress enough for people. If you have children in your life, grandchildren in your life, or if you just want to treat yourself to something fun, watch the Bluey cartoon, which is, I don't know if you've seen it. It's this great little Australian cartoon of this family of dogs. And it is sharply written. It is absolutely wonderful. And the parents go along with whatever their kids are into. So when they decide he's suddenly this newborn kid that they have to take care of, the father is acting like a dumb child throughout the entire thing. And they're getting frustrated by the kid not listening. But he starts noticing things for the first time like a child. And when the game ends, they find him out in the yard and he's like looking at blades of grass and butterflies. And he's still in the mindset of just how beautiful things are and what a miracle everything is when you stop to notice it and pay attention.
That is absolutely trtrue. How much do we just not pay attention to,
I'm sorry,
right?
what were you saying? I wasn't paying attention.
Did you blink out for a minute there?
Thank
Yeah.
you. No,
And speaking of noticing things, I'm looking here at the comments. Your community is so welcoming and so tight knit. They know each other. This is so cool. This
yeah.
is great.
Right. So that's what I always say. You want proof of miracles. Look at all the people that are gathering here every Monday and Wednesday night to share stories. And how many of them may be on different sides of the political spectrum, different lines of sexuality, different financial status, different colors, races, religions, belief systems. But for 2 nights a week, they come, they talk, they have fun, they share as a family, they say goodnight to each other, they welcome each other with love and kisses. That's why I said miracles around us all the time. People are brought together. That's miracle.
It is. It's amazing that anything even happens in this world. There are so many things left to supposed chance, but so many places where things can go sideways and they don't. All
Right.
the ones that go right, that show up as synchronicities, yeah, it's just wonderful.
Well, let's dive into a couple more of your favorite angel encounters and stories before we
Yeah.
have to hit our first break.
Right. Okay. So some of my favorite stories, I'm going to try to pick one that I've not been telling a lot. Oh, yeah. So, Bluebird in Winter. This is the story of Angela. She had lost her sister Melissa many years ago to a drug overdose. It was very unfortunate. It was a complete accident as well. And she just missed her sister so much. And she wanted a sign. I've got a sister. I think I'd be devastated if I lost her. She just wanted a sign. And she had heard somewhere that you should be specific with the sign that you want to receive from a loved one. So she said, Melissa, if you are listening, I want to see a bluebird. Yes, it's winter, but I want a bluebird. And so that was something specific, something that you cannot mistake, right?
Right.
She's driving to her other home. She's kind of got two different residences, one in Kansas City, one in Piola, Kansas, which is about an hour or so away. She's driving to her other home and she's listening to a CD. And remember those, her friend sent her a CD of her favorite singer, Howard Jones, live in, I think it was Singapore. And she's listening to the CD. She was really looking forward to hearing it because she loves this guy. And this song comes on. And the refrain talks about, I dropped my phone down the loo, which actually was what happened with her sister. She died in the bathroom.
Oh.
And then the refrain says, and like a bluebird, I'm free. And it just repeats this, just kind of like time after time, repeats that phrase, like a bluebird, I'm free, like a bluebird, I'm free. And she just knew that that was the sign that she was looking for. Now here's the kicker, is that that's not even a Howard Jones song. That was a David Bowie song. He was covering Lazarus at this concert.
Wow.
So how would she have heard this? I mean, this was his concert video, his live video or his live CD. So not even one of his songs, which I still think of that story. So going back to how we receive signs and why some people get them and some others don't. If she had not been focused on Bluebird, I think she would have missed that. Right? She was wanting to see a bluebird, but it shows up that she was hearing the word bluebird over and over again. So we can ask for these signs, but then just be prepared for how they're going to show up. Yeah, it was wintertime in Kansas. We don't have bluebirds in winter in Kansas. We barely have bluebirds in summer. And then here it was showing up on a CD that she was listening to. So just keeping your eyes and ears open. She could have gone into a thrift store and seen a plate with the bluebird on it or a wall hanging or something like that. Just keeping your eyes and ears open and your mind open to these things, I think, is so helpful.
And listen, I know for the naysayers out there, for the people that are still skeptical, that's fine. We're all skeptics till we have our own experience, right? And
Yeah.
I think what's important to acknowledge is when we put things out to the universe, when we ask for things, they don't always come in the time frame we expect them, right? When I was younger, I wanted to be a radio DJ. I was 7, 8, 9, 10. That didn't happen until I was 40 years old. And it came when I was ready for it. I wasn't ready, and I would have squandered the opportunity earlier. And this really kind of resonates with me that sometimes you want something and you want it so bad, and we're so disappointed that we don't get it when and how we want it. Therefore, magic doesn't exist, miracles don't exist, that God doesn't exist. Well, maybe you've put something out to the universe, and the universe is right now trying to clear the snow and ice and sleet out of your path so that you can get to that point safely. They can deliver you there when you're ready to get there. And so that you don't squander it, you don't miss it. And maybe this is the thing, that if you're missing the signs, you weren't ready for the signs yet. They
Oh,
may be taking place around you, but maybe you're not ready for it.
I think that's a very good point, right? We need to be open, and we need to know that there is our timing and then divine timing. I
Mhm.
truly believe that if we are begging in prayer, we may be blocking ourselves from receiving, because it's that energy is just not a good match to what we're wanting to receive. So I say just set it and forget it. If there's something you want to sign from somebody, really hoping that these things line up for us, right? Just set it, forget it, set it aside, and then just open your eyes and see what shows up for you, right? Because these things happen all the time.
Let's go. We've got time for one more quick story before we go to our
Oh,
first break. What's
let's
another one of your favorite books or favorite moments, maybe even since you've written the book, a story somebody shared or regaled you with that we can share with the audience?
There are a couple of stories just out recently on Real Life Angel Encounters, the podcast. One is from my friend James. He grew up in Florida and had a little sister who was developmentally disabled. She's since passed, but at the time they were both pretty little. His sister was maybe 2 or 3, and she was in a stroller. He was old enough to walk around, maybe 5 or 6, and they went with their mom to an open air market or thrift store, something in Florida. It was open air, and the sister somehow wiggled out of her stroller and
Oh.
took off, right? And this was it being open air. There were streets and crosswalks everywhere, so it could have been really bad. And they were frantic. Him and his mom were frantic, and they were looking everywhere for her. And this gentleman comes walking up, and he's got her by the hand, and he says, "Hey, I found Elizabeth for you. Here you go." And they said, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's wonderful," and got her squared away in her stroller. And they turned around to properly thank this guy, and he was gone. But here's the miraculous part. He said, "Here's Elizabeth. She was nonverbal. She was developmentally delayed. She did not have language. How did he know her name?" And then he was gone. I love that story. There's another story from the great Jim Harold, who you might know, and some of your friends might know here. And he's going to be on the podcast tomorrow, so you'll have to listen in. And he tells a couple of stories of loved ones. I'll just share one of these. His uncle that practically raised him was more like a father than an uncle. And this uncle just loved those claw machines. You see him at the Walmart, you see him at casinos and all kinds of different Chuck E. Cheese, and you put the claw down, and he would spend tons of money trying to win some stupid prize. He loved these claw machines, so much so that it was a family joke, and they got him a little desktop claw machine for Christmas. He had passed, and Jim is on a cruise, I think a paranormal cruise, and there is a casino on the ship. And so he's down in the casino, and he's playing this claw machine because they had one. And he thought, "Oh my gosh, my Uncle John would love this. He would think this was so much fun and so cool." Well, here he is playing this machine, and he hears, "John, John," his uncle's name, right when he's thinking of him doing one of his favorite activities. And I just love that story, because our loved ones are around us when we're thinking of them. And then here is somebody calling his name right when he's thinking of his uncle.
The book and the podcast are Real Life Angel Encounters. The author and the host of that show is our guest tonight, Christi Clemons Hoffman. We're going to take a quick break, but before we do, I want to share one more very personal story, a story of angels, of miracles, of prayer, and of community. I received a very tough call on Friday night this past week. I was luckily surrounded by my friends. We were hanging out together in Texas. Chachi and the Colonel from our show, and a friend of mine, Jamie, called and was just beside herself. She was in tears. She had a 3.5 hour drive ahead of her. Her sister, brother-in-law, 11-year-old niece, and the niece's 11-year-old friend were struck by a meth addict in a vehicle head on while they were riding in a golf cart. And when she called me, she had 3 hours of driving time alone in the middle of the night to get where she needed to go, and was basically told they may not make it. And she was doing her best to get there to be by her niece's side so that she wouldn't pass alone, because the parents had been sent to a different hospital. So Jamie and I spoke, and I said, can I post a prayer request? And she said, yeah. And I usually will just write something, or I take what people have written to me and I post it. And in this instance, I actually went up and I made a video, and I not only asked for prayers and healing and miracles and magic and whatever you have, whatever belief system you had, it didn't matter. Send some. And she got there about 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30. And 6:30 in the morning, I got an update from her that they were all alive. They were all through their first rounds of surgery. They weren't out of the woods, but they were all past that danger zone. Only the brother-in-law was still in the critical condition. She thanked me for putting up the prayer request. I asked, may I share the update so that people know? And she said yes. And I put up the update, and I asked for more prayers and continued prayers and healing. And this all happened on Friday night with 3 of her family members and a family friend. And the idea was that most of them would probably not see the next day. Today I reached out and I said, how are they? She said they're doing very well. My niece came home today. Her friend had another surgery on her leg. My sister is in better spirits, and her husband is doing better by the day. There's still a chance that the friend may lose her leg, but she's alive, and she's going to need some plastic surgery on her face, but she's really in good spirits, this little 11-year-old girl, and ready to go home. Maybe next week she'll be released. So watching a community of strangers pull together for people they don't know to do something as simple as a 1-minute prayer together, to share together, to open the light and let it shine into somebody's life. And these are the results we got. Amazing, amazing. Nothing to do with me, just being the connection point to the wider audience. And I do my very best to post as many prayer and healing requests as I possibly can when I notice them, and they don't get lost in the nether regions of the internet or my social media, but we do that. So miracles are real, folks, and they happen around us. You just have to pay attention and be aware. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We've got more with Christi Clemons Hoffman, more angel stories, more miracle tales. And remember, the name of the book is Real Life Angel Encounters. It is out, available. You can find the link on it for today's program guide. Buy the book, rate and review the book. We'll be back with more right after this.
Oh, are you reading me? Come in. Hello? Greetings from the Shadow, and welcome to Shadowzine. My name is Jeff Belanger. I'm an author, podcaster, and explorer of the unexplained. For 30 years, I've been investigating the paranormal, UFOs, monsters, and things that bump in the night. Lately, you may have noticed how major TV networks and even social media networks have been pushing our favorite subject back into the shadows. I say good. That's why I launched Shadowzine, a monthly underground publication that covers your favorite topics in depth by some of the leading writers and researchers out there. If you're looking for 30-second TikTok clips, go somewhere else. If you're ready for a deeper dive, put down your phone and pick up Shadowzine. You can't find it in stores. This is old school print. Head to shadowzine.com and be part of the underground revolution. That's shadowzine.com, and I'll see you in the shadow.
Well, you've seen those cameo videos, right? You pay anywhere from $50 to $2,000 for a quick hello from a celebrity, maybe 30 seconds, no real eye contact, no real connection, just a canned greeting, and they're on their way. Well, that's not me. A lot of you reach out asking for more, real advice, real connection, whether it's helping your paranormal team up its game, talking about how to build your own podcast or radio show, or sharing your weird experiences and wanting to know, what the hell do you think happened, Dave? Well, now you can actually ask me. This is Dave Direct to You. It's a new way to sit down one-on-one or with your crew and have a real conversation. We'll jump on a private recorded video chat. You steer the conversation, ask anything you want. And when it's done, you get the full footage to keep for yourself. Your own custom session with me, unedited, uncensored, fully yours. You want 30 minutes? That's only $60. You want a full hour? Only $100. Maybe you've got a group of fellow darklings or investigators, anywhere from 3 to 12 of you. You can book a private 60-minute group session for just $150, or a full 2-hour hangout for just $200. No scripts, no sound bites, just you, me, face-to-face, heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul. So if you've got burning questions, a team that wants direction, or just want to dig into the strange and the unknown with someone who's been in the trenches, that's me. I'm here. Or maybe you just want me to read you some bedtime stories. Let's make it happen. Just email me for details to book your times. That's Dave at paranormal60.com. Dave at paranormal60.com. Dave Direct to You. You no longer have to wish for it, folks. It's here. It's ready for you. So reach out to me, Dave at paranormal60.com, to make that happen. Our guest this evening, Christi, has written a book, Real Life Angel Encounters. We are talking about real life encounters on the program, real messages, real miracles, and they're around us all the time. Christi, when you hear stories like the one I just shared about my friend Jamie, and I apologize, I know it gets weird for listeners, especially of the podcast, to hear these long pauses as I'm trying to pull myself together and not blubber like a 2-year-old, but sometimes it just hits me, the not just the tragedy of it, but the beauty of people doing things. Sometimes angels don't come from heaven. They don't wear wings and halos, right? Sometimes they're in our chat room right now, listening in. Sometimes they're on the other side of social media when you need this elder dog picked up before it's destroyed at a shelter and somebody adopts that dog. There are angels all around us at all times.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that. And your story just really struck me about this family and this tragic accident. And I know that prayers work. They really do. And the power of prayer, I think, is a testament to all this energy and the love that's around us. And I've seen amazing things happen through prayer. It's crazy. There's a story in the book, as a matter of fact, about the Cokeville miracle. I don't know if y'all had heard about that.
I have, but for the listeners that have not, please share.
This happened in Cokeville, I think it was Wyoming in the 80s. And this madman had a plan to take a school hostage, and he was going to hold all of the children and teachers ransom because he had a manifesto that he wanted to bring into existence. And so this was a very religious community, very Mormon based and Christian, and they were very religious. So he pulled all of the children and the teachers into one classroom, and all of the teachers started praying. The kids started praying, and the bomb went off that he had brought in. He brought in bombs and guns and was planning on mayhem. And Every single child got out of there safely. All of the teachers got out of there alive. The only injury was the music teacher, but he made a full recovery. And the only two casualties were this madman and his wife. But the power of prayer was amazing. At the blast afterward, the children were saying that at the blast, these angels came through the ceiling and took all of the shrapnel and pulled it up through the air and pulled it up and out of the ceiling. And that's how prayer works. I mean, when it's not your time to go, then the angels can intervene like that. So we see stories all the time of, I was going to drive off a cliff and then all of a sudden it felt like something was jerking my wheel, or like one time I drove through a semi truck. I don't know how that happened, except for it was angelic intervention. I was not supposed to be hit by that semi truck. And that can happen. That happens a lot, actually.
You bring that up. I was not that I'm laughing at that concept, but I was over in Europe with listeners doing a tour, and I had gone across the street to take a picture of everybody in front of this building. And as I was crossing, because I'm not used to the cars coming in the different directions, I looked the wrong way to make sure that I wasn't going to be struck, as a car came careening at me and everybody screamed, "Dave!" And I stopped where I was. The car missed me by like a quarter of an inch. And then as I relaxed and stepped back, another car tore right behind me and missed me by an eighth of an inch. And I went up on my toes like Michael Jackson. Everybody just saw me when they all, again, I went straight up and stopped. So, yeah, that's right. I should not have a fear of death, because I've ducked it so many times in my life. By now, I feel like God and my guardian angels are just getting a little tired of my crap. And it's time to calm down, Dave, because I keep putting myself in places I shouldn't be.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I think of our angels. They really want to help us. They want to help us so much, but they can't interfere with our free will, because free will is supreme here on this planet. And so I think of them. They're up on their cloud in heaven, watching Oprah and eating bonbons and saying, "Hey, did your person call you today? No. Did your person call you today? No." It's like that old commercial. The operators are standing by.
Right. People don't know how to ask for that, Christy. That's what I found so interesting. As I said, sometimes it's just that simple when you're getting up in the morning to say, "Hey guys, I'm asking you to intercede on my behalf today. Bring me through the negativity, help shine a light so that even if it gets dark, I can find my way through." And, just kind of put that out there. Sometimes we have to give it away in order for us to be unburdened by it. And I've got to get better at that advice myself. But there's a lot of these moments where if we ask them into our lives to work, and listen, you don't have to be a believer, folks. You don't have to address it as angels. And that's why I love, people were telling me about my friend the other day. I don't believe in God. I'm not religious, but I followed along with your prayer. And I said, if anybody's listening, help this family out. So it's funny for people that don't believe in something to even be willing to say, if there's anybody out there listening, right? That tells you something.
That is powerful. And, people ask me all the time, do you have to be religious to have angels help you? No, you don't even have to be. You don't have to be a Christian. There are angels in Hinduism, in Judaism, in Baha'i, in Islam. There's angels in all of the traditions. There are beings that are beneficial and they want to help us in all traditions. And you do not have to be religious. They are equal opportunity. They help us all. And think about all of the people all over the world who are talking to Jesus at the same time, talking to Buddha at the same time. They can be everywhere at once too. So it's not like, well, they're helping my friend over here, so they're not going to be able to help me. No, they can help us all at the same time. So yeah, we don't have to be anything special. We don't have to believe anything special. That they're just around us all the time.
But it's in opening yourself, not necessarily making yourself vulnerable, but allowing something to help you, right? A lot of us have been brought up to believe that it's a sign of weakness to reach out our hand to ask for help. And really, that's where the strength lies. Because what is the old saying? You take one stick, you can snap it right away. If you take a bundle of sticks, it makes it very hard to break, right? By coming together, by asking for help, by putting it out there to the unseen or the scene, the people in your lives, strangers, that's when connections are made and that bond becomes very hard to break. And that's where the power comes from.
I think so too. And you mentioned that it's just as simple as talking,
Mhm.
like you're talking to me, right? We don't even have to say it with words. We can just think it in our mind because they know our thoughts. That's even what the Bible says, that that God knows your thoughts. However you want to think of God, God knows your thoughts. Our guides, our angels know that. And we can just think it. You know, one of my favorite things to do is we all have joy guides in addition to guardian angels, archangels, ascended masters, and just other guides. We have joy guides, and joy guides make us laugh. They give us an excuse, a reason to feel joy and feel happiness. So my joy guide is Lucy. And oh, cool. PJ has 3 angels. Yep. So we all have a team around us. And one of my favorite things to do is to talk to my joy guide, Lucy, and say, hey, Lucy, give me 3 gifts today. What you got? Make me smile. And then there's always reasons to smile, and she'll just put me in the right place at the right time. Super fun.
Right. And again, sometimes it's, people say, well, that's because you're becoming hyper aware. You're asking for something, but that in itself is an action being put into action.
Yeah,
So,
it is.
well, you asked your angel guide. That didn't mean an angel responded. It just meant you're now welcome and open to the experience. And I'm like, how is that any different?
How is that any different? It's like seeing the angel numbers. And there are people who are naysayers. They say, oh, yeah, well, you were kind of anticipating it being 11:11, so you looked at the clock. Maybe you didn't realize that's what you were doing, but you knew there was a good chance it was going to be 11:11. But, like you said, we're just putting ourselves in the energy to be receptive of it. And being receptive is how we can communicate with our angels and how they can communicate with us. We just have to open up and allow it.
Do angels get frustrated, Christy? Do they watching the
Oh,
world today and seeing many people turn away from any kind of belief and just giving up on each other and themselves? Does that frustrate the angels? Not like, oh, not this jerk again, but I mean, does it bother the angels that people aren't calling on them, that they're not as useful as they once were?
I would not put it in those terms. Do they wish that we would allow them to help? Absolutely. Think about, everybody's got a relative that needs some sort of help, some sort of assistance, but they don't ask. And we get a little frustrated. It's like, I could help them if they just ask me. But I mean, is it frustration like we would feel frustration? I don't think so. I think they would like to help, but I think they know that, you know what, there is divine timing. And with the eternity of our souls, the eternity of our spirit, and the cycle of rebirth, they know that we have multiple opportunities to get help and get assistance and get things right. So if we miss out this time around, we'll be back again, and we can sort it out the next time. So I don't think they get frustrated in quite that way.
Well, Christy, one of the listeners live in the chat has
Uh-huh.
decided to reach out and ask for help. It's
Wonderful.
Brandy, and she says, Christy, you look so familiar. I'm from Kansas City also. Where can I get your book?
That's a
See,
wonderful
reach out for
question.
help and we'll get the answers.
See, ask and you shall receive. But the thing is, the actual verse is ask and in the believing you shall receive. All right, Brandy, you can get the book anywhere you would find books. Now, it's only available it's available for pre-order now, because it becomes live and published in the States July 1st. It just went live tonight in the UK because it's the 24th there already. But it goes live here in the States July 1st, which is next Tuesday. So order it now and it will be in your hands then. If you get the ebook, it'll be on your device as soon as it drops. And if you get the paperback, it'll be in your mailbox just as soon as heavenly possible.
I like that, as heavenly possible. All right. Let's share a couple more stories and things that, again, people, if you don't want to ascribe angel to it, right?
Yeah.
There are people that are having experiences where somebody comes out of the blue all the time. That's why I recommend to people all the time. I say, you know what? Today, make a difference in somebody's life. Maybe that person at the checkout register that looks like, oh man, what a day. Maybe just find a polite way to You have a wonderful smile. Oh, I love your eyes. Your hair looks absolutely beautiful. Sometimes in just recognizing and letting somebody know that they've been seen or sharing a kind word. And it doesn't mean just the most beautiful people you come into contact with, because there's something beautiful about everyone. Find something to help bolster somebody. In the 3 seconds it takes you to say that could set the entire rest of their day on a different course.
Yeah. There is a recent story on the podcast of the storyteller was planning on unaliving himself. He had a plan. He was going to do it. But first he wanted a Dr. Pepper. And he went to the Walmart to get a Dr. Pepper. And he came out and was going to his car and he heard, "Hey, man, got a minute?" And he thought, oh boy, here's a panhandler. But he went over and he talked to him because he thought, well, what do I have to lose? And he was even thinking, all right, well, I'm just going to give him all my money because I don't need it where I'm going. This guy, he just wanted to talk to him. He said, "Hey, man, how you doing?" He didn't want anything. He was saying, I'm just really happy and I want to share my happiness. He says, me and my girlfriend are living here in my van and we're as happy as larks. And I've got a beat on a job. I've got an interview tomorrow and I'm really hopeful. And we're just living the best life. And just talking to this storyteller, this caller, made all the difference, just like you said, all the difference. He realized if this person could be happy and fulfilled with nothing, then why am I so miserable? And so he did not unalive himself. In fact, he went in to write about it. He's a beautiful poet, and he wrote a beautiful poem about that experience. So you never know when you got to make a big difference to somebody. There's a good story about that in the book as well. So I encourage everybody to read that.
We're going to take our final break of the evening. We will be back with more Christi Clemons Hoffman and more angel encounters, stories of miracles, and stories to lighten your heart. We'll do that when we return right here to the Paranormal 60.
Now, during the Halloween season, the veil between the worlds gets thinner and the chills get real. Oh, so very real. Something is waiting in the dark, and it's calling your name. So answer the call this Halloween season for the Paranormal 60 presents Halloween Haunts and Hijinks, October 9th through the 12th, for a supernatural weekend you'll never forget. It's being held at the historic haunted Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota. Join Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files, Ghosts of Devil's Perch, and the host of the Paranormal 60 podcast. He's teaming up with Dalen Spratt from Ghost Brothers and Phantom Forensics. And we have heart-centered, intuitive Diet Renee for a weekend packed with spine-tingling experiences. You'll have 2 nights of live investigations and paranormal experiments, interactive workshops, gallery readings, and meet and greets, live presentations with experts themselves. This isn't just an event, it's a doorway to the unknown. So you have to ask yourself, do you dare cross it? Now, tickets are limited, so please book your Halloween Haunts and Hijinks adventure now at darknessevents.com. Again, that is darknessevents.com.
And here's some exciting news, my little darklings. If you'd like to attend that event, but you wish you could break it up over payments, well, if you go to the website at darknessevents.com, click on it, and choose the payment plan, you will be able to see through, I think it's Squarespace is who we run the ticket sales through. They offer something called Clara. And you'll be able to split it up over 3 payments so that you don't have to pay for it all at once, but you can still have an amazing time with us this October. So come on out. We got a costume contest, Halloween party, and so much more. I hope to see you there. Check it out at darknessevents.com. All right, Christi, time's a-flying on us here. We only have about 10 minutes left together. Where do you want to go next?
Well, I liked this comment by PJ, said you can send your angels to help protect others. Absolutely. They can help us in many different ways, and even protecting our loved ones and paving the way before us as we go. Yeah, this stuff, I could talk about this forever because I fully believe in the power of the unseen. You know, I'm into the scary stuff too. Don't get me wrong. I like the spooky stuff. I like to be scared, right? And as a medium, I have been on many ghost hunts before. And of course, like I said, my house is haunted, and, it doesn't bother me to have spirits around, but man, there's something about having this positive, pure positive energy with us, and our loved ones too. Our loved ones are nearby. In fact, they're really only a thought away. All we have to do is think about them and they come even closer.
I like that. Are
Mhm.
our loved ones, are our pets angels? Are they angels, or is that something different? Is a ghost that can visit and not an angel? How does that work?
So our pets are a little bit different. Their souls are made up a little bit differently. They come from what I call soul soup, which is
Okay.
basically a collective oversoul. And I'm talking about little moles and mice in the wild, and dolphins and whales in the sea, all come from this oversoul. But then once an animal becomes attached to humans and starts to form that bond, they can move up the evolutionary chain, and then they can differentiate. That's what I call it. They can decide, am I going to go back to that soul soup, or am I going to remain an individual soul and then continue this evolution? And there are some animal communicators and mediums who will say that once, like, we cannot mix between humans and animals. Once you're a human, you're always a human. Once you're an animal. But I have not seen that. In fact, I've seen the opposite in my hypnosis sessions. Many people have had lifetimes as big birds of prey, small birds, all types of sea creatures. There was a woman in a group regression session that I did. She had a lifetime as a rat. I did a group regression last Saturday as part of, I had a screening for Journeys into the Soul. I'm featured in that docuseries, and I offered a group past life regression as part of the event. And one woman said, I was a frickin' chicken, which was kind of interesting. And her whole life purpose was she, as a chicken, the children of the family loved to play with her and carry her around and treat her like a baby. But then one day the mom picked her up and swung her around and cooked her for dinner. And she said, well, my purpose in that life was to bring joy to the children and then nourishment to the family. So yeah, the animals, we can come and go, but once they start that evolution, then they can raise in their consciousness and then start coming back as humans. So it's a little bit different. And then our animals do stay with us. Now, I'm sure that everyone here who's ever been a pet parent has heard the toenails on the hardwood floors, has felt some cat pounce on their bed. I've got that a lot in my house, having had a few dogs and cats who have crossed over the Rainbow Bridge. But yeah, they'll make their presence known. Or the animals that you have in the house currently, they'll look off at the corner where your dog used to lie all the time, and just notice, perk their ears up because they feel like their friend is around, one of their animal friends is around. Oh yeah, they can also serve as our guides and our angels. Doing readings for people, they'll show me pictures of their animals, and I say, oh, well, that's the dog you came in here with. He wants you to know that you were with him when he crossed the Rainbow Bridge. He wants to be there for you when it's your time as well.
Wow, that's
And
beautiful.
then it's beautiful. And being at the deathbed and hospice bed of many family members, I'll see their animals come. I remember my Uncle Joe. I didn't even know he had a German Shepherd, but I was like, whose German Shepherd is that she showed up? And then I found out at the funeral that was his beloved German Shepherd, Gretchen. I said, oh, okay, well, that explains it. So yeah, we'll have our loved ones and even our pets around us all the time.
And the cats will still be trying to trip us so that we can fall out of the heavenly gates and land on our butts, even on a cloud, right?
Exactly. Yeah, one of my cats, and I haven't yet determined which one, jumps on my bed a lot when I'm
Yeah.
asleep.
I think a lot of people are going to question, though, if cats ever actually make it to heaven, Christy.
Maybe the 10th time? Isn't it
Yeah.
9 times? The 10th time?
Yeah.
6?
That might be the way it rolls out. All right. In the last 4 or 5 minutes we have together here, what would you say is probably one of the stories that impacted you the most
Oh,
in
impact.
doing your research or having worked in this field for so long, hearing people's stories?
Right, right, right. Well, this is a story that I think just proves that we can be the angels that someone else needs. So, and in fact, this story came from the very first episode of Real Life Angel Encounters. And it's a story of Erin. And Erin's a busy mom, single mom, and she was planning to go to a meeting at her kid's school for some sort of fundraiser. And she needed to stop by Walmart and get some craft materials to make centerpieces for this event. And she was really running late. She just needed to go in. She knew right where this stuff was, going to grab it, pay for it, and go. So she gets there in the craft aisle, and there's this old woman who is clearly looking a little confused. And she said, "Ma'am, you look like you're in a hurry, but can you help me?" And then Erin just kind of thought, you know what? I need to help you. And she said she felt like she was being guided to stick around and help this woman. And she says, "Yes, I'm late for a meeting, but yes, I'll stay and help you." This woman had just lost her husband within the year, and it was her first Thanksgiving without her husband. And she was planning a very special centerpiece for the meal. And she wanted some help with picking a vase filler. And so Erin stayed and talked her through it, and they found something. And this woman said, "You know what? You are my angel." She says, "I know you were busy and you didn't have time to stop, but you did." And that made all the difference to her. So very much like what you were saying, Dave, about, we can just with a kind word, a kind gesture, we can be that for someone else. And then Erin, who told the story, she said she really felt that she needed to be there. She just sent a text to her people waiting for her and said, "I'm going to be about 5 minutes late. You're going to have to deal with it." And she said it was the most magical experience.
Very cool. Well, Christi, how can people listen to your podcast? How often is it on? Where should they go check it out?
Real Life Angel Encounters comes out every other week, and it's on the mindbodyspirit.fm platform, but it's on all of the platforms: Spotify, Pandora, Google Music or Google Play, Amazon Music. It's everywhere. Also on YouTube. And the book, of course, comes out next Tuesday. The Radiate Wellness podcast comes out in alternating weeks with Real Life Angel Encounters. It's also on all of the platforms and mindbodyspirit.fm plus YouTube. So that's out there. My website is radiatewellnesscommunity.com, and the podcasts are both there, as well as information about all of our practitioners. We've got 4 practitioners, and they're all just fantastic. Our services, you can schedule an appointment, find out about our upcoming classes and events, and you can even find the book on our shop tab, along with downloadable meditations, including Connection with Archangel Haniel.
I know you offer readings and such. Do you help people connect with their guardian angels?
Oh my gosh, all the time. All the time. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're wanting to connect with your guides, your team, I think it's very helpful to know who you're dealing with and how they work with you, how much they love you, and what they truly think of you. And also to understand the people who are around you, like what is your soul path with these people, and what role do they have in your lives as well. So it's very, very rewarding work. I've got the best coworkers you could ever imagine. I love doing readings for people. I'm also a Reiki master and a hypnotherapist.
Wow, she is a jack of all trades, or a Janet of all trades. I don't know what the proper term is nowadays, but Christi, thank you for the work you do. Thank you for helping to keep a light on out there for people, and showing and shining hope out there into the darkness.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Dave. I hope we can do this again sometime.
I'm certain of it. We'll definitely get together maybe around Christmas and talk about some Christmas miracle and fun stories at that point. How about that?
That'd be wonderful. I would look forward to it.
Was that Tinkerbell's magic wand telling us the end of the episode is here?
Well, I had set my notification. Well, yes, I think it was, short answer. But I set my notifications to do not disturb for 1 hour, and it is exactly 1 hour, so I got a notification.
Gotcha. Well, Christi, thank you. It's a pleasure having you on. And again, we have a link for Christi on today's program guide, so go get yourself the book. Hey, listen, folks, if you missed this last week's show on WCCO Radio, the Paranormal 360, my other show, it was a weekend filled with old time radio. I really wanted to bring something fun and interesting back to radio. So 8 stories over 2 hours. of strange supernatural phenomena, time slips, possible UFO or alien encounters, ghosts, and more. And it was a lot of fun done in the vein of the Twilight Zone. None of the stories were real stories, but I was diving back into that concept of the Twilight Zone, the outer limits, the shadow, and other old-time radio programs. There's some music behind it, and I narrate the stories. And it's available, I don't know if you know this, but wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, just look for Paranormal 360. That's Paranormal 360. So you can listen to Paranormal 60 on the Paranormal 60 network, or you can listen to Paranormal 360 and get an even more well-rounded look at all things supernatural. What if the line between heaven and earth is thinner than we think? From children seeing angels amid chaos to lives changed by a brief, unexplainable moment of comfort or guidance. These stories aren't just feel-good fluff. They're reminders that hope has a heartbeat. Miracles happen more often than we admit, and sometimes the right stranger at the right time is anything but chance. A heartfelt thank you goes out to Christi Clemons Hoffman for reminding us that whether you call them angels, guides, or divine messengers, we're never truly alone. So until next time, Darklings, I hope that the darkness of this world is just a little brighter with the information that we share here. Keep your eyes open, your heart open, and may the darkness of this world begin to ebb as the angels step in and light your pathway. We'll be back again on Wednesday with another brand new edition of the Paranormal 60.